y'all, it's Maddie from the Itty Bitty Homestead Committee. Sorry I am not in the camera frame. I look a right mess right now because I am still in my PJs getting this filmed. My parents are coming in this week, so I'm a mess, okay? I look funny. So I thought I would show you a beautiful, beautiful bun while I talk and introduce you to today's video, where I am going to show you some of the animals we culled out and kind of talk about why, because there was a reason behind it. And like I told you in the other video from Monday, I'm getting a little more strict in my breeding program just because I went to show, I saw my competition, I was looking at what was lacking in my program, and I was also like, hey, you're getting soft, Madison, and there's no room for being soft in ill properly looked after stock. It's better to cull your animals and to make room for better animals. So let's talk about the buns that we went ahead and culled, and we will have some quail in there as well. So let's hop into it. Let's start out with this little bun right here, and despite what you might believe, this is actually a standard size Rex kit, and this kit is about 12 weeks or so old, so we should be seeing closer to 5 pounds, and this guy was a measly 1.5 pounds, and this is another reason why I keep talking about getting rid of my doe too. She keeps throwing what we call these mega runts, and they are just these tiny itty bitty babies that aren't even growing out past our mini Rex, and she herself is a standard Rex, so I'm not sure if she is hiding a dwarf gene in her background or what, because we can get into the history of mini Rex at some point, but it can happen sometimes. But I don't know what the heck is going on with this little kit, and as you can see, he is not only small when it comes to structure, he's also just not keeping weight on one like we like to. And when I did butcher this guy out, he didn't have anything wrong with him. He was just small. There was nothing wrong with his internal organs. There were no worms, there were no flukes, there was nothing. He was a perfectly healthy bun. He was just extremely tiny. Next, we have this little buck right here. This wasn't a buck I thought I was going to keep in my program, to be honest. He wasn't a bad looking buck. He has decent type, and I thought he could be a replacement for one of our other bucks. But his brother, out of nowhere, shot miles and miles above him at around the 10-week mark. So we won't be keeping him. Instead, we're going to keep Lemon. And he's just a little more petite than what I would want to keep anyway. So if Lemon hadn't surpassed him, I probably wouldn't be keeping this buck. But he had a very nice coat. I will say he had a white spot on his stomach, which would have made him non-showable. But if I would have been improving my lines with type, I wouldn't necessarily have cared as much. It's just with him, he isn't filling out the way his brother is. His brother is far superior, and we will be keeping him instead. But he was a sweet little buck. I will say this was the only one that we had any issues with internal organs wise when we butchered him out. But other than that, he did good. This doe absolutely drove me nuts. I'm gonna pose her here like a Valentine Lop, because when I initially kept her, she was very nicely proportioned, and then her shoulder kept growing, and it was like the only thing that continued to get long on this animal was her shoulder. She looks like a little Valentine Lop. She looks like she has a mandolin type body, which is a completely different body type than I would want in a compact rabbit, and I am not going to breed this into my lines, but it is very disappointing. This is one of Lulu's sisters, and just really disappointed in this bun, but she's not worth keeping in the program because of how hard it is to breed good shoulders into the line. And if I were to keep her, it would just wreak havoc on that part of my line. So I won't be keeping her, but it is disappointing because she has a really beautiful coat and a gorgeous hind quarter. She was so round in her hind quarter. Oh, I was so excited about her, but her shoulder kept growing and there wasn't much I could really do about it. Next, we have this little black doe. I was looking at keeping this as a Solstice replacement. As you know, Solstice is my little black doe in there. That's her mom. And she is better in the hind quarter than Solstice, but that shoulder is just too long. I didn't like it. And then also, if you look at her eye, and I'll be spinning her around, her one eye is a moon eye. And I think that's attributed to the fact that she was one of the only cats that had nest box eye in this litter, and she just retained it past the point where we could do anything about it. And we did try treating it. It's just, for whatever reason, the infection got into the eye and she was blind on that side. Not something I necessarily want to breed into the lines, so I am going to cull her out for that reason also. But I do have a few more black babies in Solstice's new litter that we can hopefully replace her with, but I am going to keep Solstice long enough that we can breed my little Vienna marked black to her. But yeah, this little black doe just didn't make the cut, unfortunately, and I need to get better about removing animals from my lines that aren't as good as their parents, because the goal is to replace the parents with better stock. Also, these are my little dodo-brained quail that we're butchering out. These are all roosters. Some of them are my older roosters, some of them are younger roosters, and they just didn't make the cut this time with the new stock that we had put in. It's not that they're not pretty or not functional, it's just they're not as pretty or functional as the ones that we kept. So I have 4 quail that we butchered out, and I'm actually going to be making a quail dinner out of these guys for my parents. So that's super exciting. My parents have never had quail before, so they can try something that I myself made. But yeah, those are the bunnies we decided to butcher out this time. I have a few more I really want to remove from the barn, but I'm kind of at a standstill until my parents leave. One of the ones I'm planning on butchering is actually this one right here. This is 2, and I honestly don't think she's pregnant, and we're about a week past due, so she'll have a few more days just in case, and we'll be butchering her out, and probably Sadie as well, and I have a couple others maybe, but I'm just trying to cut my program down to make room for cages and spaces for new rabbits, and just be more strict on my breeding program, because I was getting a little excited there and keeping too many things when they weren't the quality that I know that I possess in my barn. And this is actually something, I've talked about it before, that I do quite often, where I will keep extra things, and I have to remind myself that it's not really the quality that I myself keep myself up to. And that's the reason why normally during the winter, I really cut down on my numbers. Not just because of feed costs, but also because that's about the time frame where we have our big baby boom, and I'm really excited to keep things, and I go a little overboard, and I keep 5 where I can keep 1. And that's another reason I enjoy going to show and seeing what I am capable of, because it keeps me in check. Because otherwise I'd have 100 rabbits where I would only need to keep 10, if that makes sense. That is my update for you. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Friday we will not be having a live because my parents are in town, but I will be putting a video up with an update of my silver foxes and who we're breeding, how the babies are doing, all of that good stuff. And eventually we're going to have an evaluation of this litter right here, so I'm super excited for that. But again, thank you all so much for getting this far into the video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.